Almost every single national poll has Mitt Romney trailing President Obama. All right. The Real Clear Politics national average shows a 4-point lag. Is Romney letting this election slip right through his fingers? And importantly, why did he dial back his tax cut yesterday? If I don't know what Romney's tax plan is, and frankly, I don't know what his growth plan is, then I don't know how he's going to reach the middle class. Now, it's important to note, in response to my rant last night and my displeasure with what Mr. Romney said, that a key, very senior Mitt Romney person called me today and says that Mitt misspoke on dialing back tax cuts. And this senior person said Mitt would like a mulligan. And you know what, folks? I'm going to give it Mitt a mulligan on the tax cut question for now. But he has got to stay on message, and that, importantly, includes next Wednesday's crucial debate. It could be his last chance. Let's bring in our guests to comment on this. We have CNBC contributors Ari Melber of The Nation magazine and Steve Moore of the Wall Street Journal editorial board and author of Return to Prosperity. We also have Phil Musser, 2008 Mitt Romney campaign advisor. Steve Moore, I sort of partly went off the tracks and went off the rails and went off I was so angry yesterday at this Wall Street news story. Romney tempers tax plans. He's dialing back his tax code. He's suggesting that he's going to remove tax deductions from the middle class. He didn't talk a bit about take-home pay and lower tax rates, Steve. And frankly, I was angry and confused. And if I don't get it, I suspect the public may not get it.
Yeah, you know, I watched the show last night. I saw that anger, Larry, and I share that anger. You know, look, there's an old rule of politics, the same rule in football. Either you're on offense or you're on defense. And too much of this campaign over the last month, Mitt Romney has been on defense. He talked about his tax cut plan defensively, you know, and he was pulling back on it, saying, well, you're not, to the middle class, you're not going to get a big tax cut here because every dollar we give you in rate reduction, we're going to take away a deduction from you. That's not the way to sell a tax cut. It's putting more money in people's pockets and increasing incentives. I want to see Mitt Romney that is much more bold and much more confident in his program. I wonder right now whether Mitt Romney even believes in the tax cut or whether it was just forced upon him.
Well, that is a key question. I'm going to go to Phil Musser on that. You know, Phil, a day like today, Steve Moore writes in the editorial pages of the Journal that the new income numbers come out, and we've lost about $4,500 during Obama's presidency. In the month of August, we lost another $500. Now, Phil, the reason I cite that is if you have more take-home pay from lower middle-class tax rates, which is in Romney's plan if he believes in it, that gets people through the income problem. That's why this thing should work. Now, how is it that Mitt Romney can't get that message down? How is it that he can't explain that to people? He's a very brilliant guy. What's the problem here?
Well, Larry, it is a good plan, and you know he's got the good mechanics behind his plan, and he's had a tough month with respect to being stuck on talking about process questions a lot, and frankly, I think Republicans are ready, like Steve said, for a choice election. I think the country's ready for a choice election, and we're moving to the next phase where Romney's really got to look in the camera and articulate clearly in a compelling way the choice for our country, and it goes to speaking, I think, boldly about growth, and I think he's prepared to do that. You look at the advertising strategy they have adopted just yesterday. It's Mitt talking more specifically and more directly about to middle-class voters about how his plan will create jobs. So I think that's a preview of what's coming ahead. I think the campaign understands that, and I would stay tuned over the next coming weeks.
All right.
You know what, Phil, just let me interject one thing, Larry. I've seen those ads. I just think they look like boilerplate, blah, 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 political ads. I don't think they convince anything. I want to see some more boldness out of Romney. I want to see him really take it to Obama, and I just don't think that's what's happening right now.
You know, Larry.
Well, I'd like to see actually the 2-minute ad that Obama took out responding to Mitt. I'd like to see the Romney campaign do the same thing and actually have Mitt get out the chalkboard and speak with
Let me tell you two things.
how he's going to grow the economy.
Larry, let me jump in here and tell you two things. Number one, it is a little late in the campaign for stay tuned. I think that's a problem for any candidate who's saying that as we head into October. The other point, and the problem here isn't in the tracking numbers. The Romney campaign is right to point out that horse race numbers move, and they move a lot. The bigger problem is the drop-off in trust on jobs. Did you know that last month Mitt Romney was leading Barack Obama on who do you trust on jobs by 14 points, and right now he's trailing by 6 points on the jobs jobs question.
Why is that, Eric?
That's a 20-point swing. I'll tell you why. I will tell you why.
And then we'll hear Steve.
The rebuttal. I think the reason is not anything that's happened in the job market, but rather, and there's a silver lining here for the Romney folks, but rather that their campaign has been totally weak over the last 3-4 weeks, and it has really reduced the notion of Mitt Romney as a credible challenger. You're not going to win right now when you're down 6 on jobs.
He's not talking about his program. I mean, I agree with everything that you just said, but, you know, he can turn this around by convincing people next week in Denver that he believes in this program. It's a jobs program, because every poll is showing Americans think the economy is lousy. Larry, they just don't believe that Mitt Romney has a plan to turn things around.
And they don't believe Mitt Romney.
And he's changing the plan. You see, look, these guys are calling me, Ari. It's very amusing. I'm delighted to be called. But the fact that they're all saying, give Romney a mulligan because he misspoke yesterday. Okay, maybe. But you know what? When you look back, as you said, I think, or somebody said, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's needed a lot of mulligans on a lot of different topics. And if you're always taking mulligans, I used to play a lot of golf. I really don't anymore. But the guy who takes mulligans in every hole, the foursome doesn't want him to play anymore because he gets to be a bloody bore, and that's not the way the game's played. And Phil Musser, I think Mitt Romney's having that problem. What is so hard about saying to middle-class voters, I'm going to lower your tax rates and give you more take-home pay? And then what is so hard to say to everybody else, for upper-income people, I'm going to take your deductions away? What is so hard about that? He should redline the middle class and talk about take-home pay. What is so hard about that?
No, Larry, I think that's good advice. I mean, I think on the twin front of litigating the case against the president about his failed economic policies, that's one clear component that the Romney campaign has to stay on. But then the debate represents the opportunity to speak clearly and in plain English terms about the impact of his pro-growth tax cut policies on people's pocketbooks. And that's the challenge for next week. You know, the Republican Party seems to be, and frankly, a lot of us seem to be stuck in a negative feedback loop on Mitt that is fundamentally unfair, because the truth is, as I think Steve or Ari pointed out, this race is very close and remains very close.
Now, I want to ask
all the overblown rhetoric you hear.
Hang on a second. I want to ask Ari Melber.
All the overblown.
I got to ask Ari Melber. I got to go to a separate but related topic. Okay. Out in Virginia, which is a very patriotic state because of all the military bases, here's Obama touting something called economic patriotism. I just love this. What is economic patriotism, Ari Melber? You know what it is? It's raise taxes on successful earners and small business owners in order to spend more on state and local government employees. That's economic patriotism. Jack up tax rates on the successful in order to spend more on the unions. What's so patriotic about that?
Listen, I love it when Republicans want to wrap themselves in the flag but defund everything that we do as a nation together. Yes, you have to spend money on government. Look at the union crisis in the NFL. You know, it's like it's a problem if it hits something that people care about. Well, union refs tend to be better than non-union refs for a lot of reasons. We don't have the time to get into it. And yes, supporting our federal government, our men and women in uniform, our firefighters, our police officers, and our teachers, I would call that patriotism, Larry.
Okay, Ari, but let me ask you this. I mean, actually, I like that term, economic patriotism. I think it's a term that Mitt Romney should be using. For example, Larry, I have always said on this show, I don't think it is patriotic to support a 35% corporate income tax rate.
There you go.
That is making America uncompetitive, and it's shipping jobs overseas. So, Ari, let's get together on this economic patriotism and get that corporate tax rate and get the personal income tax rate.
And you know it's so great. Why is it patriotic, Phil Musser? I'm going to give you the last word. Why is it patriotic to give state and local government unions who are already bankrupting a half a dozen states around the country? Why is that patriotic all of a sudden?
I don't think that sounds patriotic at all, Larry. I think that sounds like a formula for disaster.
I mean, why is it patriotic to hose taxpayers? What's so patriotic about
taxes.
that? It's not. They should cut it.
All right. I got to get out of here. Ari Melber, Steve Moore, Phil Musser, thank you.